Hi. Have you ever been working on a really complicated woodworking project and needed extra hands and were too broke to go to your local Home Depot parking lot? Well, guess what? I've got the solution for you. It's called Woodworker's Comp. Simply grab a handful of this stuff, give it a big snort, wait for that sneeze, and out pops your very own naked handyman. And like I said, he's naked. Be sure to have a towel ready, or a shirt. Wait, I've got a buzzer coming in. Oh look, we've got a new order. It's for a black gum burl ocean epoxy table. Let's get to work.
So I had a customer come in and basically said, hey, I really like ocean stuff, make me a bomb-ass table and I'll let you do whatever you want. And of course I said, I have got exactly what you need. So I picked up these black gum burl slabs from my local mill and boy, they are incredible. So much figure, a lot of color, and these are perfect for adding crazy waves, sand, all the details of an ocean in your dining room. But of course, just like every other table we've ever built, we've got to get all that pesky bark off these slabs and clean so the epoxy can actually stick to the wood itself. Now the molds that I like to build go against the grain just a little bit. Most people would say, hey, let's use 20 rolls of tape and make a huge liner in the mold. But I like to do things just a little bit differently. We build the box just like we would your mother's casket, and then we line it with a really thick plastic and we kind of really smooth it out underneath. That way we don't need that many ripples. And we'll let the CNC machine clean up all the waves, all the little nooks and crannies later. Now all you professional woodworkers are probably going to hate me for this method, but hey, it's worked for me for the past 10 years. I'll continue to do it. Yes, we've got a little bit of waste, but hey, whatever. Now this is by far, I think, my favorite part of the build, actually cutting these pieces to fit inside the mold. And this is where, the life of the table really starts to come together. We get to make all these separate little cuts and really put this puzzle of a table together. This table was by far one of the more easier tables I've ever had the pleasure to work on. The pieces just went in, and no matter which way they were facing, each single time they looked absolutely phenomenal. Now this table is going to take a lot of epoxy. So our first layer is just a simple single blue layer. This serves as just a base layer for all the other colors to lay on top of. It's really important that we have this single blue layer because if we didn't, all the other colors would just mishmash and they wouldn't look good. It's kind of like painting a house or painting a wall without a primer. This is our primer color. And for all you kids following at home, these are all the epoxy pigments that we used in this build. So if you'd like to follow along and build it yourself, well, here they are. All right, so it's time for layer 2. Now it's really important that we sand with a super high grit sandpaper in between each layer. This just helps the epoxy physically, mechanically bind to each layer below it. So if we didn't have this layer, the epoxy would essentially just peel off. Now there's a science to mixing the epoxy. You've definitely got to do a 1-to-1 ratio, but when it comes to colors, I'm just gonna kind of wing it. I'm gonna start with a lighter color first. I don't know why I do it. I just kind of do it because usually on the beach you would see a lighter color as the water gets shallower. So we're going to start with a lighter color and then we're going to slowly work our way up to a more deeper and deeper color as we get to the center. Now, this next step is really important. We need to let the colors blend naturally, but not too abnormal, if that makes sense. We need to physically mix the layers because if we don't do this, they're just gonna kind of blob together. So I'm just gonna use my hands. You can use, a trowel or whatever, but we need to slowly just let these colors mix. Now, this is my secret weapon. We're gonna sprinkle a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in there. What this does is it just lets, it's not bubbles, but it just makes the epoxy separate just a little bit and gives it that kind of underwater wavy current look. Not sure how to describe it, but there it is. Now when mixing epoxy, there are some air bubbles that occur naturally, so we're just going to use this flame torch to pop all of them at once. Now, since the customer gave me no rules, I'm going to use my model train skills here and put a beach on all of the corners. And then we're just going to add a little bit of epoxy on top just to glue it all together. That way it doesn't float away when we do the next step. Now, I'd be lying if I told you I actually knew what I'm doing in this next step, which honestly, I don't. I picked up this technique from watching tons of YouTube tutorials, and all we do is we make a really heavy white pigmented epoxy. We're gonna superheat it, and then we're gonna put on the air compressor, and all this does is just kind of scatters all the white pigment everywhere and kind of makes it super random. But the real key ingredient is to add tons and tons and lots of isopropyl alcohol. That's going to let that epoxy kind of separate and give it that foamy look to it. And now the hard part of this build is pretty much complete. All we need to do is absolutely fill this thing to the top with clear epoxy. And just like we said before, we need to sand with high grit sandpaper in between every layer. This table ended up needing about 4 to 5 different layers of clear epoxy. Yes, we could have used a clear, super deep pour epoxy, but I've found in the past that tabletop epoxy is a little bit stronger and it's a little bit more cost effective to the customer, so we've just doing a few layers of the tabletop epoxy. But again, 5 or 6 layers deep, and it'll be ready for the CNC. And I'll say this every single project, this CNC is by far the best tool I have ever purchased. It has saved my back and it has saved my marriage, so super good tool. If you are a woodworker looking to get into CNC work and stuff like this, it's definitely worth the investment. Now, because I'm kind of a moron, I forgot to film this step, but all we did was sand it from 80 all the way up to 240 grit in preparation for this clear seal coat. So all this step is just giving this tabletop a nice, clear, thin epoxy top coat, well, a seal coat, just to prevent any air bubbles from coming into our finish coat, which is the next step. Some of you may be wondering, why am I working without my shirt? And all I have to say to that is it's Texas and it is hot as hell. So this is pretty much our final step, and all we're doing is creating a nice high gloss finish with a super thick coat of tabletop epoxy. There's no science to this, it's just pouring 1 to 2 gallons on top of this thing and letting it self-level, and that's what creates this super awesome finish. And of course, you gotta get all those air bubbles out with the torch.
All right, so to get that really glossy tabletop epoxy finish, we're going to polish it just like you would a car. Now, to do that, we're gonna use a few different products. I just used the wire stripping by O'Reilly. We're gonna start with a heavy cutting compound, and then we're gonna work all the way up to our polishing compound. Just like sanding, you start low, you end up high. So you start low, end up high. Now, speaking of high, it's really important that you wear a respirator. I don't have a respirator today, so we're gonna do this. Feel it. Hopefully it won't be too bad, but again, do as I say, not as I do. Wear a respirator, kids. So we're gonna sprinkle it on there. On our spray, we're just gonna wave it on there and rub it into the pad. Slowly work it in there, and then we're gonna work our way up a little faster. So, well, it would help if I plugged it in. Cut that little. All right, so now we're plugged in like an idiot. We're gonna start polishing. So again, work slow up to normal speed. So work it in there. And the reason the compound's actually wet, it's actually lubricated, so there's actually little fine grits in this polish, and it's just kind of like rolling it on there, kind of like a, what are the things called, like tumble rocks? Kind of the same thing, you're just slowly buffing it. You start with the pad, and you just kind of just... That was f***ing weird.
So if you'd like a table just like the one in this video, go to www.novakwoodworks.com for a free estimate today. See you on the next one.